Hello class, and welcome back to Everything You Need to Know to Survive English class. I, of course, am Professor Blake Petit. I apologize for last week's unexpected hiatus, but I required a brief stay in the hospital after beating my head against a cinder block upon reading your essays about Romeo and Juliet. Despite our rather lengthy discussion to the contrary, several of you are apparently still under the misapprehension that Romeo and Juliet is an effective love story. That in mind, this week we are going to turn our attention to what many scholars agree is actually Shakespeare's greatest love story, Much Ado About Nothing. As always, your textbooks are not available in the campus bookstore because the manager, Cindy, is evidently more of a Leonardo DiCaprio fan than I had anticipated. However, you may find the book on Amazon.com, either in print or digitally. Now please turn to page 50, and let's begin. Much Ado About Nothing. Like almost every Shakespeare play in which none of the main characters die, Much Ado About Nothing is a romantic comedy in which people lie and mislead each other in the name of true love, which fortunately nobody does anymore. In this one, Leonato, governor of Messina, welcomes the triumphant Prince Don Pedro to his home following a successful battle. Don Pedro's officer Benedick is with him, and Benedick and Beatrice, Leonato's niece, engage in a merry war with one another. Merry war is a Shakespearean euphemism meaning that they're both totally anxious to get into one another's pants, but both of them insist on masking their mutual affection in a veil of disdain and loathing. She calls Benedick inept at being a soldier. Benedick says he don't need her, since all the ladies want to jump his bones. She cracks jokes about his weight. He promises that one of these days, bang, zoom to the moon, you know, love. Meanwhile, Benedick's fellow officer, Claudio, is hot to trot with Leonardo's daughter, Hero. Claudio, in fact, is ready to marry the girl, and Don Pedro pledges his support to hook a brother up. Benedick, who hates the very concept of marriage, tries to sway Claudio away from getting together with her by pointing out that the woman is named after a sandwich. While all of this is happening, we meet Don Pedro's half-brother, Don John, who is angry because his brother has the better name and his parents are married. In a weird attempt at revenge, he tries to trick Claudio into thinking Don John wants Hero for himself. The ensuing battle tears apart half of New York City and devastate Avengers Mansion. Claudio and Don Pedro quickly recognize the misunderstanding and, as bestest buddies, begin making arrangements for Claudio and Hero's wedding in a week's time. Several Shakespearean scholars who are married argue that this segment should have Much Ado About Nothing classified as a fantasy rather than a comedy. Planning a wedding in a week, they say, it took my wife 6 months to choose the font on our invitations. These scholars made these remarks on the conditions of anonymity. With that week to kill and nothing to do, Don Pedro and Claudio plot to play matchmaker for Benedick and Beatrice, arranging for each of them to overhear a conversation in which the other is revealed to be in love with them but is too proud to admit it. They each resolve to make amends and profess their love because this is a Shakespeare play after all, so if there's no murder, there damn well better be sex. Leonardo, turn off your phone! Leonardo. The play takes a dark turn when Don John succeeds in tricking Claudio into thinking Hero is being unfaithful to him and doing the nasty with some random guy at a party. It was actually the maid, but as the plot requires Claudio act as if he was an idiot, Claudio acts as if he was an idiot. He waits until his wedding, then humiliates Hero by calling her a slut in front of everybody, including her father, who pretty much believes everything Claudio is saying instantly. Leonato wasn't exactly in the running for Father of the Year trophy. Claudio storms off, but the friar who is performing the ceremony has a suggestion for the heartbroken Hero. He tells her to fake her own suicide, in the hopes that it will make the truth rise out of the confusion and force Claudio to feel remorse for his part in her untimely end. Scholars now estimate approximately 97% of all problems in Elizabethan England were made far worse by friars coming up with preposterous schemes to trick people into resolving their issues instead of just talking over their problems like grown-ups. The chief of the local watch, Dogberry, who got the job because he had the best name ever, captures the villains and manages to extract a confession from them. They tell the truth to Leonato, who evidently spent a lot of time with the friars because he doesn't simply come clean to Claudio. Oh, no. He allows Claudio to believe Hero killed herself, then tells him about Don John's lie just to make him feel as miserable as possible. Then, as the capper, he gets Claudio to promise to marry his other niece, who just happens to be the spitting image of Hero. At the wedding, Claudio discovers the truth, Beatrice and Benedict publicly declare their love for one another, and Benedict says they're all so gosh darn happy it would be a shame to spoil it, so let's hold off on shoving the bamboo shoots under Don John's fingernails as punishment until some other time. Although the plot focuses mainly on Claudio and Hero, Beatrice and Benedict are the play's most popular couple, and are often considered the leads of the show, although this is at least partially because Shakespeare misspelled Benedict throughout the script. The play is frequently considered one of Shakespeare's finest comedies, and is in fact perhaps his finest love story as well. Sure, Romeo and Juliet gets all of the press, but both couples in this play are more mature, are written with more chemistry, and despite the fact that the synopsis sounds like an episode of Three's Company, are far, far more believable. This concludes our discussion of Much Ado About Nothing. Remember, gentlemen, if you are currently attempting to woo one of the young women in this class, be respectful, and wait for them to give you a clear signal of their interest, such as faking their own death. As always, my office can be found on facebook.com/BlakeMPT, on Twitter @BlakeMP, or on Instagram @BlakeMP25. Thank you for your attention, and we shall resume next week.